Good afternoon. Hope all's well. I know I'm in my formal outfit today. It's not just for the live story, but it's actually for a viewing which I have to leave for after this live session. So that's why I'm like this. So it's good to be back in the outfit that I am in. It feels like you're a businessman, right? Otherwise, every day it just feels like you're, yeah, just another day, another weekend day. So that's it. So today we have a very good colleague, agent, friend on live here with me who deals with the central London market, like myself, but I deal with other properties as well across the UK. So we've got Sai Krishna here from apartment 6, and I will take him on live right now. Hello,
How are you?
good, and yourself? Can you hear me well?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you very well.
Good, good.
Sorry
How's
to.
things?
Uh, how are things? It's definitely a weird time. I think I would personally say that it's things have slowed down dramatically. I've had a
Do
couple of
you do
fall
you
throughs.
do you dress like that every day?
No, my son was surprised why I wore a shirt today, and it's like you are,
Same
and
here,
he said,
same here. I'm
and he
like
said,
every day I'm in my normal outfit, and today actually I'm going on a viewing after this call, so I was like, okay, I'll
oh
just
wow,
get
okay,
ready.
excellent.
So
He even asked me, "No, you're wearing trousers. What's going on?" I'm like, no, I've got something going on. And I explained to him that I'm doing an interview, and he's like, you don't need to wear trousers for those kind of interviews, right? Because they can't see you below that.
I
So
tell you, I
I'm
tell
I'm
you,
getting used to.
kids are so intelligent these days, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. They keep me quite active actually because homeschooling. I've got two of them, and homeschooling is becoming challenging, and
Yeah.
they're not able to really speak to their friends or meet their friends.
Then
Well, at least my
they
son.
don't do Skype calls and things like that.
My son has started because he has a phone. My daughter, she doesn't have kind of a own phone yet. So, but for the first
Okay.
time, she did a Zoom meeting. She did a Zoom meeting with her schoolmates,
Okay.
which is organized by the school last Thursday.
Okay.
But that again, still the school only did this after 5 weeks, which is pretty long, I think. And so it's challenging, and one of the issues that I face is being mindful about the space and being kind of taking care of them and making sure that they are active mentally, physically. And I think one of the biggest worries that I have for everyone in during these kind of crazy times is really the mental health of people.
Indeed.
At least I'm with the family, and at least we talk, we argue, we tell each other off, and at
Yeah.
least then we move on. But then there are so many people who live alone, and I have a
They can't
neighbor
let
who's.
their frustrations out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got an 82-year-old neighbor, and we normally. I mean, I don't have time to speak to her because I'm up and about all the time, and so she generally does talk to my wife and
Yeah.
occasionally to my kids, but
Yeah.
I help her out with her shopping once in a while, and she's so thankful, and obviously she's concerned. Her family all live in the country, and they can't really come down to see her, and
Yeah.
so it's just little things. I think that is what I think when we come out of this quarantine, I think that's what we really should take with ourselves is being
Are
mindful. And
are we going to come out?
I think we will. We
Oh well,
definitely
let's
will.
see. I mean,
I mean, I generally have a very positive outlook on things, which is what I've been teaching my kids, and I think
it's
hope is all we have.
it's one thing being positive, and it's one thing being taken for a ride.
Yeah, true.
So let's get the conversation going. We've got a few viewers here. Uh,
before I
Yeah.
start, anyone who's got questions for Sai, let me just give a bit of background. He works in the central London market, property market. Been doing this for how many years now, Sai?
Since 2011.
So
So not that
approximately
long.
about 9 years now.
9 years. Yeah.
So 9 years Sai has been doing this in the central London market. If you've got any questions, put them down below, and Sai will put them. He will answer them as we go along. So before I get
Yep.
started, Sai, give a bit of introduction about yourself, a bit of background. How did you go about this? And yeah, so before we start the conversation, so please go ahead.
Yeah. I moved to the UK in 2011, and primarily my background was fashion. I was in the fashion business before, and
from India, right?
from
South.
India, from India. Then I worked in Indonesia for about 3 years as an expat, and then due to family circumstances and things like that, you know, life decided to bring us to the UK. And when I moved here in 2011, the high street was dying, stores were closing, people were cancelling orders, and my in-laws were into properties. So they said, you know, why don't you try it till you find something? So I started my career in a lettings agency in Kensington in 2011. Pretty much.
Who did you join, if I may ask? Any of the big guys?
It's no. It was an independent boutique agency called Intellect.
Okay, yes.
Um,
What's the lady's name there?
Sham.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I started, and they were willing to overlook the fact that I had zero experience. But my previous job was business development and marketing. So
For the fashion company.
For the fashion company, yes. So I used to travel across Europe, you know, trying to meet buyers from different brands and stuff like that. So I was generally okay with people, and it became interesting to kind of get into the central London, because, you know, you always think of London coming from India. It's a cool city, and, you know, one of the top 3 in the world. And so I was pretty excited about that. But having the pressure of 2 young kids who were toddlers then, and, you know, trying to provide was a bit of a challenge. So my first job was a lettings negotiator, and I used to rent rooms in Barons Court in Shepherd's Bush. I don't know, ranging from about 90, £100 a week.
Interlet was based in in Kensington, right?
Yeah, Abingdon Road.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And are they still there? I've met them a few times, but I don't know. I've never been to their office.
Yeah, they have survived a lot of turmoils, I would say. It's been it was an eye opener for me, because, you know, imagine trying to rent a property not knowing where Earl's Court is or Barons Court is or where Shepherd's Bush was. I used to walk a lot, and I used to be really knackered by the time I got home, because trying to do these viewings, managing, understanding the city, and trying to talk about the city.
Especially doing rooms. I mean, you can be viewing one room in Shepherd's Bush, the other room in Kensington, and
exactly.
And like, I mean, I've never done rooms. I've always started with renting out properties. I started with renting out properties, but I've never done rooms as such, because I thought that rooms were really time-consuming in that sense, that you're doing the same amount of paperwork that you would do for an apartment. You are doing the same amount of paperwork for a room.
Yes. You know, the thing was, I didn't know that. I mean, you took like a more informed decision. I didn't know that. I mean, for me, it was a job. I needed the money, and I had so many pressures. I also look after my mother back home, so I just needed something to get me going. And the last thing I wanted to do was depend on my in-laws to, you know, kind of help out. They did help me a lot. They helped my family a lot, and I'm grateful for that. But as you know, coming from an Asian family, you want to be independent, and you want to send your own. Yeah, exactly. And then the journey started there, and I was working so hard, and you know, I never worked so hard in my life, I would have thought. Definitely never worked so hard.
London drains you, right?
London brings a different element out of you, definitely. And, you know, having used to a very high life in India, having a couple of maids, drivers, and stuff
Just
like
to
that.
stop you there, Sai, you mentioned that you were in fashion. When you
Yeah.
were young at school or college, university, did you always think that you will be in fashion? Did you ever think at one point in your time that you will be
No.
doing property?
No. Fashion was something that I was interested in from early days. I would say from a teenager, I liked,
Okay.
clothes and brands and the ideologies of certain brands and
Did you work with
and
any of the Bollywood top stars while doing fashion?
no. I was working. No, I was purely working on more on the manufacturing side of
Okay.
it. I was working for factories who had capacity, and my job was to convince the brands to give them the orders
Gotcha.
for production.
Okay.
So
Like
more
you
business
mentioned, the business
development.
development manager. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I joined a company through a friend of mine in 2004. So I basically did engineering, mechanical engineering, which is what, as you know, with most Asian families, you have three choices: you become a
Doctor,
doctor,
lawyer,
or an engineer,
engineer.
or a lawyer. Uh, so 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 I
And
had
if
scholarship.
you have a better choice than an accountant.
Yes. Yes. So I got scholarship because I used to swim professionally.
Okay.
So the government gave me scholarship. So my dad thought perfect opportunity for me to do engineering.
Now I understand where you get the height from.
Yes, that's true. I'm abnormally tall in my whole family. My family height average is 5'5". I'm the only one who's crossed 6. But yeah, so it started like that, and then in 2004, my dad's business collapsed, and I needed to bring money, and fashion job just came along. My friend father owned a company, and
Gotcha.
my friend became a lawyer, and he needed someone to come and work temporarily. So he said, "Why don't you come and work for me until you find a proper job, and then you decide." And then I started it, and I fell in love with it.
And
And I
that
thought,
just
okay, I could make a career out of it.
carried on until you got to London, basically.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Fine.
from there, I just thought, it's an industry. I enjoyed what I did. So that was the most important thing.
What's
And
your
then
what's your biggest sort of brand that you brought to your fashion factory, basically, that you convinced them to get
um,
your? Was it a
Diesel.
Western? Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah,
That is amazing.
yeah. So it was quite interesting. And funny thing was, 2 years later, Diesel offered me a job directly. I started. I started their India office in 2007.
Gotcha.
Um, and then unfortunately, things didn't go very well for me personally in terms of growth, because I love to grow in any industry that I am,
Yeah.
and which is what happened with the property industry as well. And I felt like I can't be renting rooms for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I need to up my game. So I then got into proper lettings, and then I thought I
At
could
at
do
at
sales,
at Interlet, you mean?
internet, not
Okay.
internet.
Okay.
But obviously, it was like a training ground for me. I learned some of the hard set of skills there. It was dealing with people, dealing with different backgrounds. You can imagine someone paying £90 a week for a room would be in a different caliber of
League.
work.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, not like I'm judging them, but just that they don't have the time to spend too much. They're working all
Indeed.
the time. They're
Indeed.
stressed.
And
Yeah,
normally
but
the
like
people
you
who are
said, it's the
renting
same
rooms
thing.
are mainly within those kind of jobs that they need a quick buck, right? Quick buck, quick sleeping place. That's it. That's all they care about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, it was the same thing. Renting a 3-bedroom flat, or renting 3 rooms in a 3-bedroom flat. The paperwork is triple, and so it was just common sense for me to see how I can up my game from there. And then in 2014, I thought I've got enough experience now, and I'm ready for my next level, which
So
I thought
while
was
you were
sales.
at Interlet from 2011 to 2014, did you carry on with doing rooms and then apartments and then
Yeah,
sales as well?
yeah.
So you were across
No,
all
no,
three
no
boards.
sales.
Okay, so
Just lettings.
Just lettings. Okay, got you.
Just lettings.
So you did not
But
get the sales background from Interlet as such.
no,
But
no.
did you have an analogy of, did you have an understanding of how the sales
Yeah,
work?
I picked it up because I was obviously going through all the property magazines, trying to acquire knowledge and training myself. And I thought it's again not that different from lettings. But obviously people are a bit more serious, in my opinion, compared to people who deal with a lot of applications.
Especially in that part of the city, right? In central London.
Yeah,
It's a totally different
exactly.
ballgame.
And so I kind of thought, personally, I'm leveled up enough to try that now. And I think as I'm getting older, I think that's progression was the right thing to do. But Interlet didn't do sales at that point. And so I decided to try and find a job with some of the mainstream estate agencies.
Did you ever ask them to branch out into sales?
I did, and they previously had, but then they burnt their fingers on a few things, and they said, listen, we are very happy with doing lettings, and and they were doing really well. So for me personally, I just felt like I got bored of lettings. I wanted to see what's the next challenge. And then so I tried, started to network with a few people, trying to find out who has an option to give me a break. And
networking as in networking events or social media platforms?
No, just just socially calling people.
Okay.
Like for example, when you do half comms on Laundress and you meet another agent and then you make a connection and then so I just started asking around, saying, hey, do you know anyone who's looking for a new negotiator, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. And unfortunately it didn't really work. And then I met this amazing woman who was heading Savills in Kensington back in the days. And this is 2013 I'm talking about. And then she pointed me in a couple of directions. And one of them was Chesterton's. And so I tried to get hold of them. They didn't have any openings, but I was persistent. So I still remember that I chased one of the area directors there for 6 months to give me an opportunity to meet them. And they did. I was put in contact in May and then finally managed to get a face-to-face meeting with them in October.
Sai, I'm sorry to do this, but can I just give you, just hold on for me 1 second.
Sure.
Someone's at my door. Just give me a second.
Sure.
Apologies. I'm so sorry.
Never
Actually, my wife brought some food in, but so never happens to me. Normally, I do these live sessions when she's at home. So yeah, I couldn't let the kids open the door.
But that's the thing. So I got hold of him in October, and then we clicked. And he gave me an opportunity, and he said, listen, we don't have an opening right now in sales, but we can give you an opportunity in lettings.
Wow.
So they gave me a job in the Kensington office because I knew the area, but
sorry,
because they didn't have...
Before we start the Chesterton's chapter, what was the biggest lettings deal that you did at Interlet?
Ooh, I don't know, something like 2,200 a week or something.
Okay, cool.
It was
not bad.
I mean, so that kind of gave me the confidence to like, okay, I've done this, so what's next? So and because of my I guess because of my sports background, I always set myself these short-term goals to progress, and so that sales was the next best thing for me personally, but the agency was not ready to take someone with zero experience and someone who's been renting rooms predominantly into sales. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I said, okay, I can prove myself. That's absolutely not a problem.
Yeah.
So I joined as a junior lettings negotiator in October 2014
At Chesterton's.
at Chesterton's,
And this
Kensington,
was Chelsea, yeah.
and then started with, again, from ground zero. Had to prove myself. Unfortunately, I did. And my manager was very impressed, and then they promoted me to senior negotiator in January.
You said unfortunately. Was that you didn't like it, or what was it? I mean, was it fortunately or unfortunately?
No, because I wanted a sales job, but then they weren't willing to give it to me. But I said, if I have to prove myself, that's fine. So I hit my
target.
Q3 target pretty much between November and December,
Q4
or Q4 target.
Q4
yeah,
target.
Yeah.
Yep.
So which my manager was pretty impressed, and so then they promoted me to senior negotiator in January. So literally 2 months after I started as a junior lettings trainee. So which again boosted my confidence, and then I had a really good year in 2015 in lettings, and a lot of people again, because Chesterton's is a huge setup. I got to interact with a lot of managers.
Did you see a difference while you were working at Interlet to when you were working at Chesterton? Did you see a massive difference? Yes,
it was very professional. It was much more professional working with Chesterton.
Not only in the working environment, but also in terms of the deals that you were bringing in. Was there a massive difference in the two companies? The caliber of deals that you were bringing in?
Yeah, 100%. Just the instructions were completely different. Which again, I mean, it's just the way Chesterton's set up. They've got a property services team that are dedicated to purely bringing on instructions and getting the leads and the valuations and things like that. So that's how it started. And then again, through just hard work really, and a bit of luck, I got somebody from my sales team in the Kensington office had left. Basically not left, but upgraded to another job within the company. And there was an opening available. And I had a Nick Carter who was running the sales team in Kensington back then, took me out for a coffee and said, listen, you're dressed smart, you speak really well, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Why don't you come and join the sales team, give it a shot. And I tried to be really cool. I was like, oh, sales, I don't know. I was like so happy. I was trying to contain the joy because I didn't expect to happen so quickly, because I started in October, 2 months up and ready.
Sorry, you were saying you started in October. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah. So in October 2014, I started. It took me about 2 months to settle in and understand the norms and the policies of the company, blah, blah, blah. And then in September 2015, I got my sales break.
So approximately a year you were then promoted into the sales. The job that you actually wanted from the start. You got
Yeah, exactly. So I was quite, I was pleased, and I thank God for the opportunity, and that's when I started.
That is the time we met. I think 2015 or something.
What?
When we met at that building in Cromwell Road. Yeah.
Yes. And then so that was a really huge progression for me, and I knew that this is what I was meant to do, and this is my ultimate opportunity to prove myself. And I got my first deal in November, I think October 2015, which exchanged in 4 days.
Wow. What was that?
And I didn't know really the timelines of exchange and completion at that point.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here. What was the property that you did the deal on?
Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hello? Hello? Sai, can you hear me?
Yeah. I don't know what happened there.
Can you see me well?
Yeah.
Super. Cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, you were saying, I mean, my question was, what was that deal that you did, that exchange in 4 days?
Stanford Court in Cornwall Gardens.
Okay.
Um,
How
and
many
it
bedrooms?
was um, asking price is 1.9 and I sold it for 1.68. And he
Wow,
said it
not
was a
bad.
low offer, but the buyer said I will buy it in 4 days time. Oh no, he actually said I'll exchange in 1 week. And no one took him seriously. And he said, give me the contract, give me the pack, I will exchange in 1 week. But my offer is this. And he exchanged in 4 days. And the client was super happy because they were going through some personal issues and they really needed the money. And, you know, sometimes this is how you create opportunities, right? I mean,
Yep.
every offer, it may not be good today, but might be good 2 days later or 3 days
Tomorrow.
later or a month later.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Can I just
we are in
ask
a
you a
time like
question
that.
here?
Yeah.
When you were at Interlet, the commission structures to the commission structures when you were at Chester, I'm talking about lettings out here. The commission structures of Interlet in lettings and the commission structures of Chesterton's in lettings. Was there a difference that you saw in terms of, and the salary bracket also? I know we should not ask this, but you know, it's a conversation that I want people to understand. Let's say there is a person out here who's looking for a job in a state agency and they possibly get to an agency like Interlet or Chesterton. So they have in mind that, okay, these are the salary brackets and these are the commission brackets. So I'm just asking you this question, if you can expand on that.
Personally, for me, I would say my package at Interlet was better because I personally think boutique agencies always give you a better package because they are a small entity and they want to retain people, whereas corporate, there are always a high turnover of people coming and going, which is unfortunately the way it is. Foxtons apparently have 30-40% turnover every year, which is crazy. And I think every big corporate, unless they really retain their staff. Like for example, I personally think Knight Frank and Savills do a good job retaining staff because
Yeah.
they have different
Because they put
package.
in they put in so much training and all that kind of stuff in there that it
Yeah.
makes it more expensive for them to train another person.
Yeah.
You know, so to retain that person that may be leaving, unless they have to leave for some odd reason or something. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So to answer your question, my package on lettings, I felt like I made a bit more money at Interlet initially than at Chesterton's.
Okay.
Which was quite interesting for me to, because obviously, you know, taking that step into a corporate agency, taking that risk, I was a bit conscious about, you know, again, bringing the money home and taking care of the family
Yep.
and stuff like that. There was so much pressure, and so initially I found it a bit difficult. I had help from my family, so it was very good. But then I started, you know, I hit the ground running because Kensington was my playground, and I knew every street, and I was pushing myself more into South Kent, Chelsea, because with Chesterton's I got the opportunity to cross-sell and stuff like that. So really, I'm very thankful to Chesterton's because they did give me that initial push
They gave you
yeah.
they gave you the push and the freedom, I guess.
Yeah. And I got along well with my directors.
A lot of these big corporates like Savills and Knight Frank, sometimes I've noticed this as well, that when I call them up, let's say you know, when you're searching through those properties and you come across 5 properties from Savills, for example, or 5 properties from Chesterton's, you want to call that same agent and maintain that for the next 5 properties, but they're like, no, you got to call that particular office and speak to that agent there, and then so it just becomes like, yeah. But I
Yeah.
would really, it would be great that if these big corporates could just allow that freedom, that agents from Kensington can cross into Chelsea, Knightsbridge,
Yeah,
place
yeah,
like
I
that.
think they're doing it now. But also the most important thing was the team. I had a great team in Lettings at Chesterton's. We got along very well, and we had a very personal relationship. We got invited for various events, drinks, and stuff like that. And then the same thing happened when I moved to sales. And it was a very close knit team,
Yep.
which is very important for any business, is
Yep.
having a good team who communicate and take part in with helping each other.
Absolutely.
It was very competitive, and but at the same time we enjoyed that freedom and helping each other, helping them do a viewing here and there or whatever, covering for each other and stuff like that. So that was a good set of skills that I learned working in a bigger team, and again trying to be mindful about whose applicant this is and what
Yep.
impact it's going to have, and it was quite fun. And then I got into the next challenge was, okay, the first deal was 1.68. What's my next deal? So trying to hit that high value properties, and
2 million.
again just it was something like 2.2 in Abbotsbury Road. And it was a beautiful apartment in an ugly building.
Abbotsbury Road,
once you're
Holland Park,
inside-
right? W14, isn't that?
This was, actually it's W14, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Abbotsbury is W14. But it had amazing views into Holland Park, and the apartment was fully specced out, and so it was very interesting again to move to the next level, and then slowly from there on did all these deals.
What were the commission structures on Chesterton's sales, if I may ask?
They have a accumulator commission accelerator setup. It's like a algorithm. So you enter your basically you get it from your manager, and it tells you what you've done and then where you are from your target on a monthly basis.
So it's not a commission structure per property.
No, it accumulates. So for example, if I did a deal today and the commission was, let's say, 50,000, and then the next one I did is 20,000, but collectively I've done 70,000 in the 2 months, but my target is 25,000 per month, then I've exceeded. So I get paid more commission because I've exceeded my target. So
For
the commission structure was
for
very
that
good.
particular month, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So the commission structure was very good, and I thought it was the most competitive amongst most mainstream corporate agencies.
Because I did not, I mean, when I started for an independent agency in Battersea, and then soon after 3 years, I started my own company. So I've never worked for a corporate. But it's good to know how different corporates work. I mean, I know with Savills, they pay it per property and they don't have this commission accelerator program.
Yeah.
But it's good to know that a company like Chesterton's do have that, and it's something unique.
I mean,
I've never heard of that.
It was definitely, I would say I learned the tricks at Chesterton's, but just applying myself with the new learned skills, right? So you always try to, I personally think that there are always better way of doing things. So you learn what things are being done at that moment, and then apply your efforts and your ideology, thinking outside the box and stuff like that. And we did some amazing deals.
So we've got only 1 hour, which Instagram gives us for live sessions.
Yeah.
So I want to carry on with this conversation. What was the biggest deal that you did at Chesterton Sales, if I may ask? And where was
it was something like 21.7 million.
Not bad. Amazing.
So
And
basically,
was it a house?
it was in
apartment?
Kensington. It was 3 houses bought by the same family, one after another. So they bought 3 properties in a row, which was very exciting. And I was dealing with one of the youngest members in the family. It was a very wealthy family. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was dealing with an 18-year-old I took him into a CPC development, candy, Christian
Candy and
candy
Candy.
development.
Yep.
Um, and he did a WhatsApp video tour with his family, so I could see about 6 of them, looking into the phone, and it was quite interesting. And obviously, but I was dealing with the family for about 6 months prior to that, showing them various opportunities and stuff like that. And then,
Gotcha.
so there was a relationship built.
Yep.
And as you know very well, the business runs on relationships.
Absolutely.
And the deals are done, I think, with
and,
your
and,
rapport.
and with the Middle Easterns, you got to have that vision of keeping a long-term relationship, because with Middle Easterns, you and me both must have learned that out of maybe 10 clients that you have, maybe one of them, just maybe one of them might take it from the first viewing, but the other 9 will make you run to another level that you've never ran before. It's like sprinting every day. Months and months pass by, and then you never tend to get something out of it. But it's great to know about your big massive deal. And then, so this was when? I mean, when did you leave Chesterton's?
The deal I did was in December 2016. And well, in 2018, things kind of, for me personally, I was again felt that I'm becoming a bit stagnant with what I was doing, and with me the problem is I get bored with things, not in an arrogant way. It's just like, okay, I can do this. What's next?
Like you mentioned earlier, you want to push yourself.
Yeah.
So
and I was going through some personal changes as well, in terms of thinking about as you get older, you think about a lot of things, and
family,
with the kids and responsibility.
Yep.
And I was working very, very hard, which is not a problem, because I enjoyed what I was doing. So it didn't seem like, but it comes at a cost where you're away from home from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and sometimes you're working 3 or 4 Saturdays back to back, and because that's the deal to be done, and there's that viewing to be done, and for me it was so important to be in the top 3 in the company, and I set that
in the whole of Chesterton's company.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good aspiration to look at.
Yeah. I mean, you got to set yourself goals.
And did you always maintain that top 3 level?
No. The big deal helped me to put me in the top 3. And then I think, I was definitely in the top 10, I would say.
Always.
Consistently. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Great.
And then it was, I decided, I was in Turkey with my family on holiday, and, I had done my target for the year by March, because I had a tremendous start to the year.
Of 2018?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was. I had like a very big internet exchange on a deal in Kensington, which was a big fee. And then I sold another house for 4.5. And then the deals just kept coming, and
So you could just take the time off, basically.
No, the thing was, I felt like I was missing out on a lot of things. Like, for example, one of my first deals I did in January 2018 was this a triplex apartment in Victoria Road.
Wow.
And for the first time that I remember that weekend, because that's the first time I decided to take my daughter to a birthday party, because usually it's my wife who's doing that, because I'm always working.
Yeah.
And parents were very happy that I made an effort, and came to the birthday party, and we were talking, and all of a sudden I get a call from the buyer, who I showed the wife the property on Friday, and on Saturday morning I'm in the Wetland Center with my daughter at a birthday party, and the phone goes off, and then he's like, I want to buy it, my wife loves it, let's try and figure this out. And the property was already under offer with another main agent in Kensington. So it was all going, and then the whole birthday party, in my opinion, was, I wouldn't say ruined, but I just I just pulled myself out of the birthday party, and I was on the phone and, calling the client, calling the buyer, calling the lawyer, calling a surveyor, because I knew that I had to get this done. And but I didn't realize it at that time. And then I actually took my daughter from the birthday party straight to the property in Kensington at about 6 o'clock. I took her to McDonald's before because so that she doesn't complain. And I was there in my joggers, my t-shirt, and trying to do this viewing. And I was hoping the client will not be there, so they don't need to see me dressed so casually. And the buyer didn't mind because he knew that he had to perform if he wants to buy this property, because it was very, very close to exchange. And we put the deal together. So I was there in the property till about 8:30 at night with my daughter, and the buyers,
On a
they were
Saturday.
like, they said we love it, and we want to know, tell us what we have to do to buy it. So the whole of Sunday I spent trying to put together this deal, and then on Monday we agreed the deal, 200,000 over asking price, which was
Wow.
which the client was very happy about. And we exchanged on the Tuesday afternoon.
Do you think? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, from Saturday evening viewing, 2 days of negotiations and exchange on Tuesday. So that was quite impressive.
Do you think the name has a lot of the brand name has a lot of value for driving the employee within the company?
Initially, I think that what attracts people. For example, again, this is just me. I didn't see myself getting a job at Knight Frank or Savills, and let's just say Chestertons were more diverse, and they believed in people and believed in talent, and they believed in giving people opportunities, and I have a lot of respect for that company because they did.
They gave you the shot that you wanted.
Because when you have 35 offices and you see, I'm working Kensington, and then I meet a guy from Kentish Town, and we're completely different people, and we talk completely differently, and there is a complete different mentality there. But then he is really good at selling properties in Kentish Town, and if I ever need to buy something, that I would call him. But at the same time, there was this very mutual respect between all of us, and we all pushed each other. I was working very closely with the Knightsbridge team, the Chelsea team, and all the managers were just wanting to get their property sold, and they didn't care who sold it. So they would encourage each and every negotiator to really push themselves, and we had some amazing. I mean, I enjoyed working there, no doubt. But what I was coming to is that during this process, you take a compromise on a lot of things, right? When you're after success, success comes at a price, which I learned. So that about 3 months later, I realized that I completely ruined that birthday party because I was supposed to help out with some hunting, treasure hunting or whatever. And I wasn't there, but I didn't care because it was, almost a 200 grand fee. So what am I going to do? I pretty much like, you know what, you can look after this stuff. I need have something more important to do. So I kind of upset a few parents. And then it was a learning for me, like, oh my God, actually maybe I need to reevaluate the situation, and which I did in August in Turkey because I had that time off. And it was my birthday as well. So we were in Turkey, and my wife said, what do you want to do? It's a new year ahead of you, a new start, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I want to quit my job. And she panicked a bit. She like, what are you saying? Because my wife took time off work in order to look after the kids because I was doing well. So we decided that someone needs to, be there for them. And then I took that step, and then she was quite upset because, that we had a certain lifestyle, and I didn't have anything planned. It was just the fact that I was just getting kind of tired of that lifestyle of just waking up, going making 50 calls a day.
Like you mentioned, stagnant. That was,
Yeah.
yeah. You need that extra
And
challenge in life that kind of
I was at the top of the game, and I thought if I don't do this now, then I would probably be chained to my desk
So
in a way.
this is now the next step that you took into
Yeah.
Harding Green, I guess.
It was, I didn't really have, when I quit my job, I didn't really have anything lined up. I mean, I had a couple of people who offered me jobs. I had a client of mine who wanted to invest in the business because I knew that I wanted to do something by myself. Didn't want to get up into another corporate agency and then again.
Can I just ask you, because you took out your time at Chesterton's and a big corporate, something like that. What would be, I always ask my guests this question, what would be the one thing that you would leave back at Chesterton's? And what is the one thing that you would take from Chesterton's? So if you can answer that question to me.
The one thing that I've taken is there's opportunity in creating a transaction in anything if you apply yourself in the right way. That is something that I've learned at Chesterton's, because you're constantly there to connect to people, and it was not done in any negative or any kind of how to say it, it wasn't a shady, none of the deals we did was ever shady. We always believed in doing the right thing, and I would genuinely tell my buyer sometimes, I don't think you should buy it if I had to, and I had the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that I take away from Chesterton's, because we believed in, or the company had believed in service was a crucial part of the business. One thing I would leave there is probably the phone calls I have to make every day. That was the worst.
That was a good one.
That was the worst. They actually put me on performance management for because I was one of the lowest making calls in the company.
Seriously.
With the highest transaction fees.
Then they can't complain, right? Then there's no point to complain.
No,
all the company cares about is employees meeting the targets, bringing the money in. So,
yeah. No, I mean, it's a very corporate setup, and I think you go to any corporate agency today, they expect you to do this, because it's all, you're measured. When the business is such, 35 offices, you can't even imagine how many negotiators are there. How are you going to gauge them? Is through the KPIs, right? Yeah. So I totally get why a corporate agency would want to do that, because the only way to measure talent for them, because they can't spend so much time on an individual person. Yes, okay.
What was the maximum call you did in Chesterton in a day?
Oh, I have done like 50 calls a day, but it was more like probably 40 voicemail messages and 10 calls. If I call, like for example, if they had a routine which I respect, because for me that wasn't the way to work. Again, I'm a kind of I was kind of an older person in my team, and I had my own ideas. So I thought, okay, maybe I'd rather do this now rather than, because I was number one across 35 offices in 2018 in the first 2 quarters, and I said, okay, listen, if I'm going out, I better go with a bang at the top of my game, and I think people will respect that.
Yep.
And so when I told my manager at that point, saying, I'm going to quit, and, they obviously try to negotiate and do different things, but I just thought, if I needed to grow, then I need to
leave it there.
Leave. And then they offered me different ideas. They said, maybe, do you want to run an office? Do you want that? If you want progression, we can give you all that. And I said, no. I said, I don't want to run people. I don't want to manage people. I don't want to do that, because end of the day, I believe, this is my ideology. You believe in yourself, you do what you have to do, and you deliver results.
Yep.
I personally think becoming a manager needs a lot of patience and
absolutely,
and dealing with people, and in a more kind of personal way, which I can do it, but I don't want to do it. I'd rather just go there, do a deal, get paid, and just move on to the next thing. So then obviously Nick, who was my old manager, who gave me the break at Justin's, Harding Green was his business. So I knew that he actually offered me a job as well to come and help him run the office. And I said, I don't want to be working under someone again. So that's when he gave me the opportunity to become a consultant. And that's how the journey started. And it's been a lot of people told me like
it would be great to understand the because I know that there are a few agents that work at Harding Green. So you have the Harding Green name, but then you have your own name as well.
Yes, so we all have our limited companies, and we all act as a consultant for the business. We do our own thing. There's no
so
questions
asked. So is it like a 50-50 split on the commissions?
No. You can potentially make up to 80% of your fees, depending. There are certain parameters that you need to meet and stuff like that. But minimum is 60%.
Wow. Well, so Harding Green only takes 40% from each deal.
Yeah.
But is there a basic salary on there, or no? It's just commission based totally.
No. I pay a subscription to Harding Green for using their services.
Okay.
Which is very minimal in the scheme of things. It's very minimal, and the facilities they offer, the office space, the admin, the marketing.
So
the technology.
What is that subscription fee, if I may ask you?
It's 150 per month.
Per month. That's not bad. And how many consultants work there at the moment?
We are a team of 12.
Wow.
Which and we have people with amazing experience. I work with really, really, like I said, team is a very important aspect of any business. And success comes from that. So
I mean, I must say that Harding Green and their consultants are pretty active on social media, especially on Instagram.
I actually pushed myself. I actually said thank you for the inspiration, because you've been relentless and so kind of dedicated. I would say your dedication is amazing, Murtaza. I have to give you that, because no matter how the market is, no matter how much stuff is going on, you made sure you were up on that page and you were posting stuff and you were making sure that the content is given out. And I had the opportunity to do a couple of viewings with you, which is again, you're very, very organized, and it's amazing. And you're definitely, I would say, a leader in that sense. Where
not yet. But I would want to get there one day, hopefully.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, you got to be in it to win it, right? And you're 100% in it.
That's why right now, obviously things are slow in the market. Viewings are not coming that often. Deals are not coming in that often. So I thought, why not connect with people? Why not speak to people during this do this live session, get knowledge out of them, give my knowledge to them. And obviously we've got viewers that were here. Right now we've got 2. It's not that bad. Sometimes I've done live sessions where I've had 0. I'm just talking to the person. It's good to, and plus this live session stays on my story for the next 24 hours. So people can obviously go back to the conversation, pick and choose whatever knowledge that they want. It's pretty easy to forward these live streams on. So I thought this is a good way to interact with people, to keep busy during these times. And it's just not a agency world. Like, I pick up people from life coaching, from like fashion, for example. Today I've got an interior designer at 10:30 p.m. at night from the US. So she's joining me in from there. So it's just, Instagram is one of those I've contacted a few celebrities. Why not? Just put it out there.
I saw you had that. I can't remember his name, but he's a stand-up comedian, isn't he?
Paul Chaudhary.
The guy with the business stuff. Yeah, Paul Chaudhary. Yes.
He actually took me on his live session, because I'm a firm believer that all this COVID stuff that's going on is I don't know. I don't want to say it live, but and I put it on his comment like it's Yeah. And then he took me on live, and I was actually the first viewer that he took on live. And it was amazing to, normally he takes on people for like 2-3 minutes or something like that. But I tended to keep him on for 7 minutes. So it was good.
Nice.
And
But there you go. I mean, we got to find ways to push ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
We got to keep.
And it was like
I mean,
free publicity, right? You're on with a celebrity. It's
yeah,
free
100%.
publicity.
Hey, listen, 2 people have joined me since you did your story yesterday, right? Which is fun. I thought that was, oh wow, okay.
Absolutely.
And the business works on referrals.
Absolutely.
And our business thrives on people letting someone else know that, hey, you go work with this guy, he's really good. If you want to buy something in Kensington and Chelsea, he's your man. And
we've
and
got 5 minutes to our session. I would want to do this again with you, to speak to you again, but I want to know something which is really important for the live session that we are doing. What did you see different in the property market in the early, like, let's say 2011 to maybe 2019, and today where we are, into all this whole issue that we are with, like the lockdown, the virus, people not being able to do viewings? What did you see? I mean, obviously during those 9 years, 10 years, you must have had a lot of, not personally, but a lot of ups and downs with the property industry itself.
Yeah.
What do you see different, and where do you see it going? So if you can just recapture that in 2 minutes.
I think the job has become harder and harder from 2011. I think the stamp duty increase was the biggest blow, even till date, I would say, for the property market. And then obviously it was Brexit nonsense. And now obviously we come out of Brexit. I haven't heard that word in 3 months now, I think.
Yeah.
And then now you're stuck with the situation. So I guess our jobs as property consultants has become so hard since my personal journey from 2011 up until now, is that unless you push yourself to be someone you're going to be left behind. We've got the stamp duty, we've got the Brexit, we've got anti-money laundering checks and all that. Yes, we need it. It's important to run a safe and secure business, but how are you going to adapt to that situation? How are you going to convince your client? How are you going to convince your buyer to overcome those obstacles and still buy with you is the challenge. And I think now as a consultant, I look at myself as an independent business, even though I am with Harding Green, but at the end of the day, Apartment 6 is a business that
this
operates by itself.
This was my question. Why Apartment 6 Limited?
I just wanted it to be slightly different because, a lot of, again, no disrespect to anyone, but I just thought the traditional names were so English
boring.
And
boring.
I just didn't want to sound just like another,
But you could have chosen apartment number 1. Why Apartment 6?
I just thought. Okay, to be honest, 6 is my lucky number.
Okay, gotcha. All right, fine.
And I just thought, okay, Apartment 6 sounds a bit cool in my own way, and I could use it in fashion as well, because that's something that I'm working on at the moment.
Oh, you're working on fashion as well?
As a side project that I'm developing. Let's see, it's very early days. It's something I started doing 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's something that I always wanted to do, because again, I said it's a passion of mine. Just like property. So I just thought, hey, now I have the time.
I'm trying to convince a fashion magazine to do a live session with me. So once they approve that, I'll let you know, so you can join in.
Cool. Yeah, definitely up for it. But yeah, it's so that the thing is setting yourself small goals that are achievable by adapting to the situation, pushing yourself, believing in yourself, and keeping your mental health, up is very important. When you start doubting yourself, that's when you start digging a hole. The idea is to build.
We've got final few seconds left, so I just want to wrap up, and I want to say that, look, anyone who's got any questions dealing with Central London property, do DM Sai. He's on Apartment 6 Limited, and he's also on his personal Instagram.